You know what everyone's been told? Burn fat for fuel. Tap into those fat stores. Become a fat-burning machine. And if you've been following keto, carnivore, or low-carb diets, you've probably been chasing that exact goal. But here's what almost nobody's talking about. When your body burns fat under stress, it's not optimizing your metabolism. It's damaging it at the cellular level. And the science on this is absolutely clear. I'm Dr. Steve Presciutti from BioSpark Health. My team and I have spent years digging through metabolic research that challenges what the mainstream health world keeps repeating. We're experienced clinicians, research-oriented, and frankly, we're tired of watching people unknowingly harm their mitochondria in the name of metabolic flexibility. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what happens inside your cells when stress forces your body to burn fat. And by the end, you'll understand why pushing fat oxidation might be the worst thing you can do for long-term metabolic health. Let's start with what happens during acute stress. When your body faces a stressful situation, whether that's psychological stress, intense exercise, trauma, surgery, or infection, something remarkable happens. Your energy expenditure skyrockets. We're talking up to a 200% increase in total energy production. Your body goes into overdrive mode. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Researchers can measure something called the respiratory quotient, or RQ. This is simply the ratio of carbon dioxide you produce to the oxygen you consume. When your RQ drops to around 0.8, it tells us something critical. Your body is primarily burning fat for that massive energy increase, not glucose. At first glance, this sounds great, right? Your body's tapping into fat stores during stress. Isn't that exactly what we want? Well, not exactly. See, while this burst in mitochondrial function is necessary for survival during acute stress, like sprinting away from danger or fighting off an infection, there's a dark side. When stress becomes chronic, or when the demand on your mitochondria becomes excessive, this fat-burning mechanism becomes detrimental to your cells. Here's what the research shows, and this is where it gets really important. Excessive demands on mitochondria during critical illness, trauma, major surgery, severe infections, actually cripple mitochondrial function. And one of the key mechanisms behind this damage, you guessed it, fat oxidation. But it's not just about burning fat, it's about what burning fat does to your entire metabolic system. When you burn fat instead of glucose, several problematic things happen simultaneously. First, you get the Randle Effect. This is where fatty acids in your bloodstream directly block glucose from being used for energy. It creates insulin resistance right there in your cells. Your body has glucose available, but it can't use it efficiently because fat is blocking the pathway. Second, and this is crucial, burning fat produces less carbon dioxide than burning glucose. Why does that matter? Because CO2 isn't just a waste product. It's essential for oxygen delivery to your tissues through something called the Bohr effect. Think of CO2 as the key that unlocks oxygen from your red blood cells. When CO2 levels drop because you're burning fat, oxygen can't efficiently offload to your cells. So even though you're breathing, even though your blood is carrying oxygen, your tissues aren't getting it effectively. Your cells start suffocating despite adequate oxygen in your blood. But wait, there's more. During stress, your body releases inflammatory chemicals and increases nitric oxide production. Now, nitric oxide sounds healthy. You've probably heard about it for cardiovascular health. But in excess, particularly during chronic stress, nitric oxide directly damages your electron transport chain. Specifically, it blocks cytochrome C oxidase, which is one of the final and most important steps in cellular energy production. Meanwhile, those inflammatory signals, they're directly inhibiting enzymes your Krebs cycle. This is the metabolic pathway that produces the electron carriers your mitochondria need to make energy. So let's put this all together, because this is where it becomes crystal clear why fat oxidation under stress is so damaging. You have fat oxidation creating the Randle Effect, blocking glucose usage and creating insulin resistance. You have decreased CO2 production, impairing oxygen delivery to tissues. You have nitric oxide blocking the electron transport chain. You have inflammatory mediators blocking the Krebs cycle. And you have a backlog of metabolic substrates that can't be processed efficiently. Your metabolism is blocked at multiple critical steps. It's like having a 6-lane highway with 4 lanes closed, a toll booth that's not accepting payment, and a traffic light stuck on red. Energy production grinds to a halt despite abundant fuel. And what does the research show happens clinically? In situations of high stress, like in trauma patients or surgical patients or sepsis patients, these metabolic blocks directly correlate with increased morbidity and mortality. People literally have worse outcomes and higher death rates when their metabolism gets stuck in this fat-burning stress-driven state. Now here's where this gets really relevant to you. If you've been doing keto, carnivore, or low-carb diets, you've been intentionally pushing your body into fat oxidation mode. You've been training your metabolism to rely primarily on fat burning. And while you might feel okay in the short term, what you're actually doing is mimicking this stress-driven metabolic state. You're voluntarily creating the same metabolic blocks that we observe in critically ill patients. In both states, you have lower CO2 production and thus less tissue oxygenation, and you see very similar things with respect to the Randle Effect and insulin resistance. There is an increased demand on mitochondria without adequate support. So, okay, this isn't about demonizing fat or saying you should never burn fat for fuel. It's about understanding that chronically pushing fat oxidation, especially in an already stressful modern life, is taxing your mitochondria to a detrimental level. Your mitochondria are the powerhouses of your cells. They're what determine your energy levels, your resilience, your ability to handle stress, and ultimately, your longevity. When you damage them through chronic fat oxidation, you're not optimizing your metabolism, you're degrading it. So what's the solution? The answer is restoring metabolic flexibility in the right direction, supporting glucose metabolism, increasing CO2 production, reducing unnecessary metabolic stress, giving your mitochondria the support they need to function optimally rather than constantly demanding they work in crisis mode. This means adequate carbohydrates from quality sources. This means reducing stressors that push you into excessive fat oxidation. This means understanding that your body's preferred fuel, glucose, is preferred for a reason. Look, I know this goes against what you've been hearing. I know the keto and carnivore communities are loud and passionate, but the metabolic research is clear. When you understand what's actually happening at the cellular level, the picture changes. You came to the right place if you're ready to hear the truth about metabolism. At BioSpark Health, we've helped hundreds of people reverse the metabolic damage from years of fat, adapted dieting. We've seen energy come back. We've seen thyroid function restore. We've seen body temperatures normalize and metabolic rate increase. It's not about perfection. It's about understanding your metabolism and working with it, not against it. If you've been heavily pushing fat oxidation and you're noticing declining energy, cold hands and feet, poor stress tolerance, or stubborn weight that won't budge, your mitochondria might be telling you something. Let's talk. Let's fix that. The good news? Your metabolism is incredibly resilient. With the right approach, you can restore healthy mitochondrial function. You can support your body's preferred fuel pathways. You can feel energized again. This is what we do at BioSpark Health, and we're really good at it. Check out biosparkhealth.com and let's start the conversation. Your metabolism deserves better than chronic stress. Let's give it what it actually needs.